Hi, welcome to Fanboy and Critic, our show where we normally go see new movies out in theaters and tell you what we think of them. But this week we're watching Game of Thrones and we're going to tell you what we think of it, both the good and the bad.
I'm Joel Ortiz and I'll be your fanboy.
And I'm Sam McClure, I'll be your critic. So before we actually watch the episode, no predictions. I know you're fucking sick of that. I'm sure people out there are sick of that. We've all heard enough. How are you feeling though? Like, this is the end of almost like a decade worth of television that we've been glued to our screen. Like, how do you feel going into this?
I'm sad. I'm sad. I don't know what's gonna happen, and I don't know what I'm gonna do Sunday nights now. It's a blank. I feel so blank. I don't know how I feel. I know I'm definitely sad that it's coming to an end. I'm just going to leave it at that. I just don't know how to feel this right now.
I agree. I'm so split. Like, I'm excited. This is going to be the end of it. I'm excited to see what happens, to finally have a closure on this. But at the same time, like, it's over. Like, I know I'm going to feel emptier at the end of the show. Oh my God. It's done.
It's finally done. I'm so sad. I'm so sad. Like I said, it's done. I can't believe it.
Well, let's go through it. I mean, we open up and it's just them walking through this completely destroyed city. And what do you think? Like, all of them are thinking, first of all, they're just coming across massive amounts of dead body. They already kind of knew what was coming, but Tyrion's kind of leading the way.
I was actually happy with that scene. I think that's what a lot of people were complaining about the last episode, about Cersei not getting that final death blow or death kill she deserved. I enjoyed seeing her dead. So there you go. You got the closure. She was dead.
Sick bastard. I mean, I feel like they just kind of had to reiterate, like, okay, these were a lot of innocent people.
Yeah.
And Daenerys just did not give a single shit. She murdered them all. And I think they were just trying to reiterate that with both Jon and Davos and Tyrion all walking through, like, looking at each other like, Jesus, this is not even just a regular sack of a city, which we expected. This is 10 times worse. And then after that, we get Grey Worm executing people that are completely unarmed, prisoners not even fighting back, just slitting their throats. Like, Grey Worm did not have much of a, like, they killed his girlfriend, but like, it wasn't these soldiers, it was Cersei. So he's kind of turned into a villain for. And I know a lot of people criticize Daenerys for not having a reason. She just went insane. Insane doesn't need a reason. Grey Worm is not insane, and his reason is pretty lackluster.
I was not happy with Grey Worm in this episode.
I mean, this is how he ended up. That's how he is. As far as we know, he's a villain now.
Yeah, he's such a villain. Really annoying.
But then you already said you like Tyrion going down into the grave or into the crypts and seeing Cersei just dead and Jaime dead. Honestly, that was the most emotional moment of this whole episode for me, because Tyrion, Peter Dinklage just sold the hell out of that. Yes. I was like, oh, he's feeling it. I'm feeling it. He's sad. Like, I think he was even crying for his sister. As much as Jaime was the one person he cared about, I think he was even crying for his sister. He wanted to see them live, and they didn't. I mean, he's still sad that they passed.
Yeah, I mean, seeing his golden hand like in a bunch of rubble is like, you're just sad. You feel really sad for him.
Yeah. Dany's speech. First of all, her troops like multiplied by like 10,000. As soon as she won, like, all the guys are like, oh yeah, we're it's like, as soon as you find money, all your family pops out of the woodwork. They're just like, hey, what's up? It seemed like a very Hitler-esque speech. Like, we're gonna cleanse the world.
She is definitely lost it. I think she just thinks she knows what's right, even when she's wrong. I mean, she didn't even take account of all the lives she took. She just thinks she did the right thing, and now she's paving a new path for the world.
And Tyrion came out and made a way bigger show of this than he probably should have. She might have just been like, get the fuck out of here. But no, he had to disrespect her in front of everybody. Yeah. He's just like, take this shit, get out of here. Of course she's going to take him into custody. I'm surprised she just didn't burn him right there. But
I thought that's what I was kind of expecting, or even get beheaded. But she doesn't.
Yeah, she doesn't. She gives him time to talk to Jon and convince Jon. That was really one of the best written scenes of this episode. Yes. Was when Tyrion and Jon get to talk, and Tyrion, I mean, there's no more subtlety left. It's all hard terms at this point. and he's just trying to convince Jon, and Jon is struggling. I mean, Jon has always been in the struggle of the emotional choices that he's had to make, like what's right versus what he wants to do based on who he loves and cares about. He's had to do it multiple times, and he's always put duty before love.
True.
So this decision was really hard because he's had to make it before, but at the end, I think we all knew, like, of course, which decision he's gonna make. And then that scene, which really, they could have rolled credits at the end of this next scene, where Jon and Daenerys talk, and honestly, it was kind of poorly written.
Yeah, I mean, I was bashing it for the writing and everything like that, but that scene was actually one of my favorite scenes, because I knew Jon was definitely gonna kill Daenerys, but I didn't think it was gonna happen right then and there. And the dragon coming in and just completely melting the throne. I mean, that message for me was the anger of what the throne brought. I mean, for him, I mean, his mother just died, so he was pissed the fuck off.
Yeah, but what is that? The thing for me is I was giving the writers a lot of benefit of the doubt this whole season. I was like, no, I trust them enough. They're building onto something, and I think they're clearly going to have an ending that blows us all away. And really, they let Jon survive again via plot armor, because the dragon probably should have killed Jon. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, any way of doing it was more interesting than having the dragon just shoot fire off at nothing, at an inanimate object. Like,
yeah, that is true.
Even if Jon had killed Dany in the chair and on the throne, that would have been way more iconic. He's just in the middle of the chamber in the throne room. If he had been on the throne and the dragon decided to melt the throne with him on it, I don't care if he survives or not, because he's Targaryen. He might not be burned by that. Even though in season 1, and you can check it out, Jon does get burnt. They've shown before that he is capable of being burned. But anyways, whether or not, I think they just wanted to burn the Iron Chair down. But that was symbolic because they really just install a king again anyways. It just really made no sense. The dragon should have tried to kill Jon. Even if he tried to set him on fire and it didn't work, he could have eaten him. Like, Jon should have died in that moment, and I've been giving the writers a lot of benefit of the doubt, considering how a lot of people have hated this season. I was like, you know, they're getting there. They're getting to something, I'm sure.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Jon should have died in that scene, either getting bit by the dragon, burned by the dragon. There's no reason why that dragon should have not attacked Jon.
Nope, so not a single one. And then apparently a lot of time passes, because we don't even really realize that. Like, they just cut to the next scene, and Tyrion's beard's a little bit longer, and apparently it's spring now, and they don't sort of indicate any time passage.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, the whole thing happened in spring, and all the lords of Westeros are there to sort of decide what to do with him. And he basically makes the case like, well, you guys can't decide because the king is supposed to decide, so decide on a king first. And
this was the shocker.
Yeah, this was what it was all leading up to. There's a big, long, talky scene that really doesn't seem to go anywhere except for like, hey, you guys should choose a king, which is the start and end of Tyrion's thinking, like, choose a king, and then they go, well, maybe it's a democracy. No, nobody really wants that, because we're already in power, and there's, like 10 of us, and we don't want to give everybody the power. So then Tyrion basically decides that the one person that is completely disassociated from the rest of humanity is the best king.
Yeah, I don't think he's sane enough to rule a whole kingdom.
Yeah, and then Sansa's just like, well, I'm gonna take option C, and I'm just gonna yeet out of here, and I'm just not part of this. I'm gonna be Queen of the North, and I feel like all the lords are like, wait. Was that a fucking option? I didn't know. Wait, I take my vote back. I don't know. There were several better options out there to be the king other than Wheelchair McGee there.
Yeah, but that's what they gave us, and
it's what they gave us.
And it was unpredictable. No one would have thought. Everyone was going for Jon.
Sometimes surprises aren't good.
Yeah, this was one of those surprises that was not great.
It wasn't great. I don't think he's a good king. And they even show us in the small council meeting next, like, he's not really part of this. Like, Tyrion's basically talking to all these guys, making decisions. He pops in for half a second. Oh, there's a dragon still out there? Maybe I can go find him. And then Podrick wheels him off. Podrick's basically his nurse now. He's not even a Kingsguard.
He's the Kingsguard caregiver.
Yeah, exactly. And then, well,
that scene right there, I really enjoyed that scene. I feel like everyone who was sitting at that table, I don't know if deserved that spot, but definitely should be in that spot. Everyone was controlling the right things. And it makes me feel like the 7 or 6 kingdoms are going to be in good hands.
Except for Bronn. I don't think Bronn should be Master of Coin by no means, but the rest of them were good. Or spot on. And then we basically just montaged through everybody's like final scenes, and then it's out. That's an hour and a half gone by pretty quickly. Like, they kind of resolved, they kind of shot their load up front, and Daenerys was gone, and then they spent 45 minutes resolving the paperwork of it. Like, who's king now? What happens to all these people? It was not necessary, I don't think. Like, they had goodbyes. Jon and Sansa and Arya had their goodbyes at the docks. That's all we needed. We didn't need to see them doing that, because then they had a 10-minute montage of them going to do those things.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, to round up the episode, round up the season. This season was definitely rushed. This last episode was way too rushed. But Game of Thrones is still unpredictable. We didn't think he was going to be on that. We didn't know who was going to be on the Iron Throne. No one could have predicted this. I mean, it stays an unpredictable show. Was I happy with the end result? I think it was good enough, but
good enough.
It's not what I wanted.
I don't think any of us ever got what we wanted from this show. I don't think that was the point of the show, but it just ultimately was it satisfying? I don't think so.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily have to be, I'm happy with who's on the throne or what happened, but was I satisfied with the story? And to that, I still have a pretty lackluster meh. The last segment, no, not a prediction. I know you're not happy about that, but just final thoughts on the show as a whole.
My final thoughts for Game of Thrones is that it's still one of the greatest shows ever made. I mean, this ending, I'm pretty sure a lot of the fans are not happy with, but if you think of it as a whole, no one could write a story as unpredictable, as crazy and twisted as this show. I mean, I loved it. I love it to the end. It's just a crazy show. The ending could have been better, but I'm happy. I'm happy with the overall results of this show. Game of Thrones, I don't know what I'm going to do on Sunday nights. I need you. But I caught that little spoiler. I'll see you in 10 years, huh?
All right, so my final thoughts on the show. I think there's been a lot of criticism this last season, and I've been holding out on a lot of my own criticism because I really thoroughly expected that they were building up to something spectacular at the end. Because I knew that the showrunners and the show writers knew how this Game of Thrones was going to end based on what George Martin told them. And I just thought it was going to knock it out of the park, and they were having a little bit of a struggle getting there. But in the end, I was pretty dissatisfied with how the show ended. But my takeaway from this is the first 4 seasons were the best seasons of television ever. So we have to accept that these last couple seasons haven't been as good as the first ones, but without these last seasons that were okay, they were okay. They were still good. I enjoyed them. But without them, we would have never gotten the perfection that was seasons 1 through 4 of Game of Thrones. So we have to accept the good with the bad and just admit that this was one of the best shows on television ever. It's brought us so many things beyond what we thought television was capable of. It's been more epic of a show than anything I've ever seen or will ever see again. So I think we all just need to accept that the amazingness that was the show in the early seasons overly made up for what we expected out of the last seasons. All right, fanboys and critics, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment below to fill that Game of Thrones hole in your life. Just watch us. Watch us in our videos on Sunday nights, every Sunday.
Every Sunday.
Always.
Every Sunday.
I mean, we're not going to put out a video every Sunday, but just go watch the old stuff again and again.
We need the views.
Make new accounts and subscribe.